The Bengals introduced new defensive coordinator Al Golden this week, and guess what? I talked to him one-on-one. That interview, our thoughts on Zach Taylor's staff, and much, much more right now on Enter the Jungle. Hi again, everyone, and welcome in to Enter the Jungle. I'm James Erpine. He's Andrew Fox Miller. Catch us every single Tuesday at 8 Eastern on the YouTube channel Cincinnati Bengals Talk. Also, weekly on the FanDuel Sports Network. We're brought to you by Garage Beer. You can also check us out wherever you get your podcasts. And without further ado, before we get Andrew Fox Miller's take on Al Golden, before we hear from Zach Taylor on the Bengals coaching staff, it's time to go one-on-one with Bengals defensive coordinator Al Golden. In the Bengals locker room with defensive coordinator Al Golden. Al, welcome to Cincinnati. The first thing I want to ask you is about the process, because I've seen it. I'm a University of Cincinnati graduate. I've seen how college coaches can get jobs, and it happens quick, and it can happen in the middle of bowl season. Just the way the Bengals handled this, Zach handled this, you were able to handle it. It didn't feel like it was a distraction.
No, not at all. And they just had such a class approach to it, and just really were supportive in our run in South Bend, and allowed us the freedom just to work. And they asked for permission, after the championship game, and had a chance to talk to Zach last Tuesday night and Wednesday, and formally Wednesday, and then decided that this was the best, move for, our family moving forward.
Have you, knowing that your family was here, did you ever think about the possibility of coaching in stripes again? Can you allow yourself in that in the coaching profession to do that, or do you just not think about that?
No, I really never thought. Obviously, if you tried to do the odds of that relative to where I was and how content I was to be at Notre Dame, that's something that never really crossed my mind. But when the opportunity did avail itself, obviously, it's magical, that timed up the way it did, and have the opportunity to be back here.
What was your family's reaction to knowing that you wouldn't have to commute anymore and do all the things that you've been doing?
Yeah, no, they're excited, and they're excited because they believe in Cincinnati. They believe in the community. They have established roots here, and obviously they know how we feel about the Bengals, about the Brown family, about Coach Taylor, and obviously the staff that he's putting together, and my respect for Coach Simmons, for example, Joey Bose, just any of the people that I've had an opportunity to work with, and consummate professionals, and obviously can't wait to be their partner.
The Bengals fan is at UDF pumping gas or getting ice cream, and you come up, the new Bengals defensive coordinator. What would you want them to know? How would you describe yourself as a coach?
I listen a lot. I'm not a screamer. I try to be really poised. I try to be a problem solver. I try to make everybody around me better. And I'm organized. I try to empower the coaches that I work with, and ultimately empower the players. And we're going to go only as far as the players want to take us this year, and in coming years. And so it's really important that we build this together, we have buy-in together, and that they understand that it really can't be won on the board, and it can't be won in the classroom. It's got to be won on the field. And to do that, you have to empower guys to get us in the right play, to get us in the right call. Hey, they went to empty, we got to do this. Oh, they shifted again, we have to do this. And you have to have guys that are empowered, that have confidence, that have beliefs that are congruent with yours and consistent with yours, and then ultimately the confidence to go ahead and get us in the right spot.
How do you build that confidence in general with young guys or younger players, whether it's rookies or second and third year guys?
Yeah, keep it quiet. Don't have a lot of gray area. Keep it small. Refine. Try to make sure that they have the trust and the respect and the confidence to ask questions and to be engaged, and if they need, an extra walkthrough or an extra meeting or extra, lab work or whatever it is, whatever they need to provide that for them so that they can be their best. I don't think there's anybody that's going to walk in the locker room that doesn't want to improve. So we have to put them in the best spot to do that, best position to do that. If players improve, the unit's going to improve, and that's what we're looking for, both individually and collectively.
Given the fact that and I think it's 19 different ranked teams you guys have played over the past 3 years at Notre Dame, huge games, multiple games against Ohio State, you obviously played Georgia. Will that help you during this offseason evaluating the NFL draft class?
It will. I told the story this weekend just of, you watch certain players on tape, or certain players have specific accolades, or, this guy's getting the ball a lot, he's a heck of a player. But when your players come off the sideline, after a drive or two, and like, my goodness, this guy's different. They said that about one of the Louisville wide receivers early this year. And so, yeah, that stays with you. Like, the players know when somebody's on a completely different, plateau or level, and how they have to adjust their game accordingly. So that helps your feedback. And then, just having, like you're saying, just being able to play however many, what did we play, 30 games the last 2 years. And so that's a lot of exposure to a lot of really, really good players. And ultimately, hopefully I can share that with the organization.
You obviously are in the process of finalizing your staff, multiple guys. Chuck Burks is returning, Jordan Kovac's returning, yeah. Guys like Jerry Montgomery, you're bringing in. What has that process been like? I know it's a whirlwind, but to finalize a staff, that's obviously going to be crucial.
Yeah, it's been a whirlwind. A lot of these guys come so highly recommended through Coach Taylor, and guys that the organization has had on their board. So it was easy to build once, we had the green light to do that, just to get in front of these guys. And like I said, I drove up here last Thursday and had a chance to interface with Coach Burks and again, see Jordan again. But I was really enamored by Coach Burks and his knowledge, and we just sat there with no film, nothing planned, just take me through certain things that you did. And I'm excited about that. I'm excited to learn what they do best as a staff, and obviously share with them certain ideas and values that we believe in.
Al, I know you're about to do a bunch of these interviews, so I appreciate the time. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Really good stuff there from the Bengals' new defensive coordinator, Al Golden. What does Andrew Fox Miller think? We'll get Andrew's thoughts, my thoughts on the hire, and much, much more coming up next. Welcome back to Enter the Jungle. He's Andrew Fox Miller. I'm James Erpine. Hopefully you caught that one-on-one interview with Al Golden. Really good stuff there from the Bengals defensive coordinator. If you missed it, well, you can check out all of our episodes on the YouTube channel Cincinnati Bengals Talk, or search Cincinnati Bengals Talk wherever you get your podcasts. And Andrew, let's get your thoughts here. We've talked a little bit. Oddly enough, I don't think I've gotten a ton of your thoughts about Al Golden, even though we've seen each other multiple times, whether it's virtually or in person, since they've hired him. What do you think about the Bengals' new defensive coordinator?
Well, first of all, kudos to you, James, for refraining on any puns using the word golden up to this point in our runtime of this episode. That should have been a question for Al Golden. Like, what puns have you not heard, Al Golden? Anyway, look, what he said in that one-on-one, and even what he said in the news conference that he had with the Bengals on Monday, I don't know that I got anything that I didn't already expect out of him, or hear anything that I didn't already kind of know, but it reinforced a lot of what I think or feel like I appreciate about who Al Golden is as a coach, as a person that is grateful to be coming back to the city of Cincinnati and working for the Bengals organization. He's fresh out of college football, obviously. He had his finger on the pulse for recruiting efforts in college, right? Evaluating opponents in that sort of regard. So there's that firsthand experience with college players. He kind of touched upon that in the interview. What could maybe help to some degree with scouting efforts for the draft itself. I don't love that there seemed to be some sort of tunnel vision on the Bengals' part when searching for a defensive coordinator. It feels that way. But regardless of the circumstances, the end result, I'm pretty happy with.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of things there. And it is a good point, because it's not like they interviewed Robert Saleh or Dennis Allen or insert whatever big name. Matt Eberflus was discussed. And by the way, Dennis Allen, defensive coordinator, Robert Saleh, defensive coordinator, Eberflus, defensive coordinator. They all have jobs in the league. But this is me pushing back the other way, because I don't think there's any harm in interviewing those guys if they had done that. And even if they had Al Golden on the short list, and clearly he was on their short list, right? A lot of people would say it's too short of a list, but regardless, he was their top candidate. There's no doubt about that. And so they bring in Al Golden. And to me, it's similar to last year with Dan Pitcher. The difference is Al Golden was on another staff, but clearly talked to Zach regularly, had a home in the area still, all of these things. And so no one really had an issue with Dan Pitcher. And I think very few people did. And so this falls on Zach. Whether or not it's right is on Zach. I will say this: I think Al Golden's a good coach. I love that he brought up the development side, and there were a few different ways I asked this, and the entire news conference is up on Cincinnati Bengals Talk on YouTube. To ask this, and it was like, look, if you're bringing in a coach from college, you're hoping that he can come in and develop right away. Get the most out of your young guys. Maximize what you have. And he did that at Notre Dame. He talked about the amount of freshmen that they were getting on the field. The Bengals need that. Because if you draft a talented player like a Daxo or like a Miles Murphy, you need to be able to develop them. But you need to be able to get them into a spot where they can contribute right away. And I think that that's a big thing. Whoever they draft at 17th overall, whether it's on offense or defense, they got to play. Whoever they draft in the second round has to find their way onto the field. The Chris Jenkins, the McKinley Jacksons, those guys have to get developed and be better, take a step forward or 2 steps forward or maybe 3 steps forward if you're Miles Murphy. You get my point. And so I do think, regardless of the process, to your point, they got a good coach. Whether or not it works, I'm not sure. But I was impressed with Al Golden on Monday, and I have high expectations for this defense. I expect this defense to be much improved this year. Obviously, they have to add talent. There's plenty of time for us to talk about what they need to do player-wise. But from a coaching perspective, I certainly like the addition of Al Golden.
Not just talent, but also identifying and maybe acquiring leaders. Because if what they're saying about Al Golden is true, that sometimes his schemes may come across as a bit complicated, it relies heavily on communication and, sound technique, fundamental football, then it's maybe not so complicated. So can you build that and kind of get everyone to truly buy in? And you need leaders for that to happen. I remember before Al Golden was coming out and speaking at the news conference, which again, like James said, listen, watch, it's out there, YouTube, Cincinnati Bengals Talk. I was digging a little bit on Al Golden beyond what we knew from his time with the Bengals. And I did find this article from ESPN in late last year, late 2024. And in there, they talked about Marcus Freeman, head coach of Notre Dame, his impression initially of Al Golden for his interviewing as defensive coordinator at the time. That interview, it was all about him teaching ball disruption in the NFL. That was his kind of pitch. In addition to tackling and situational football, Notre Dame safety Jordan Clark, he had said that he places a premium on that. And his quote was like, that's how you impact the game. That's how you see the results that we've had, in this case, Notre Dame this year. I loved that because that's exactly what we've been begging for, where any defense should want. But surely the Cincinnati Bengals just need just a little bit just to get in the right zone here, the right fit, hoping it's Al Golden.
Yeah, got to get the ball back to number 9. I mean, that's it. If you have number 9, you just get the ball to him. And then you sip your Gatorade and you do your job. Pinkies out, of course. Like, that's what you do. And I think I like the hire. Again, I don't know if it'll work. I think there's a minority part of the fan base that is really frustrated with the hire. I think there are a lot of people that are frustrated with the process. Ultimately, as long as Zach gets it right, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about the process, but you have to get it right. We will see if Zach Taylor got it right with Al Golden. We will see if he got it right with all of the hires that they've made on this staff. We talked about new offensive line coach Scott Peters a ton on last week's show, but what about Zach? How does he feel about this staff now that it's coming together? We're going to hear from Zach Taylor, and we'll share some thoughts on his revamped staff coming up next. Welcome back to Enter the Jungle. He's Andrew Fox Miller. I'm James Rapien, and the Bengals, well, they've added a bunch of coaches over the past 3 weeks. And whether it's Al Golden, whether it's Scott Peters, whether it's multiple position coaches, including Jerry Montgomery at defensive line coach, whether it's new linebackers coach Mike Hodges, both Montgomery and Hodges introduced or announced this week, rather. We knew about Montgomery last week, but a lot of new faces. And I asked Zach on Monday, so this was 3 weeks to the day, when I braved. Remember when I took the Cincinnati Bengals talkmobile down to Paycor Stadium? I braved the winter, Andrew, braved the winter in the snowstorm from Antarctica here in Cincinnati to get to Paycor, and Zach Taylor made those moves. Well, I asked him on Monday, 3 weeks later, if I had told him that this process would be what it was and his coaching staff would look the way it does today, what would his reaction be?
Excited. It's a group that's professional, number one, and how they approach their jobs, whether it be coordinator or position job. And guys I have a ton of respect for, guys that are really hungry, and extremely motivated. And so I just think it's a really good collection of coaches that we have come in that are all going to speak the same language when we define what that language is defensively, and start moving piece by piece, evaluate our own guys, evaluate the combine guys and the free agents, get ready for the draft, and then coach our guys up. So it's an experience that, again, rejuvenate is the word I said, not that you just need a couple days after the season to kind of not get the season out of your system, but get ready for the next one, and we're ready to go now. And I'm trying to get Al to take days off. It doesn't appear he's excited to take any days off. I took my couple days off here this weekend. I'm excited to get back in the building and get to work and get these guys back in here and start getting ready to evaluate all these prospects. And so just excited for the next opportunity we've got.
This is the biggest coaching staff shakeup by far of the Zach Taylor tenure, Andrew. And I do think he's aware of it. This is what I keep coming back to when it comes to like the golden search. And by the way, Jerry Montgomery, he hired him. He's never worked with Montgomery. It's not like there's a tie there. He said he was really fond of him after the Rams played the Packers in 2018. And I bet the Packers might have kicked the snot out of them in the trenches, and he was impressed with him then. Anyways, the point is he's not just hiring people that he's worked with or had ties to. At the same time, I think he knows that this is it. And so why not roll with the coaches that you truly believe in? And I think that's what his process has been over the past 3 weeks.
I haven't even really, you're right. All these coaching changes, I haven't had a whole lot of time to digest it. But the first thing I think of when I see position coaches and stuff rolling into this team, who might follow them? Let's get a list together, James. Maybe the next episode of Enter the Jungle, who's going to follow all these different coaches? I guess if there's one minor nitpick about the Al Golden thing is like, aside from people coming up from the college ranks, you're not going to have that sort of migration of maybe talent that might be a little bit curious about what's going on with a new defensive coordinator. But hey, you got new coaches coming in on defense. I don't know.
You never know. You never know the connections. You never know who worked with who, where. It's really tough. Like Mike Hodges was at the same college as Zach when Zach was a GA. So it could be a tie like that. And by the way, people are outside looking in critical of that. I think that makes sense. I do. You get to know people. You realize that they're good. Maybe your paths cross. Maybe they don't. And then 10 years later, they do. Okay, well, that works. That makes sense. I don't think it's a negative to, especially in the coaching community, to be like, oh, well, these people are on my list because they are people that I've ran into or that I've gotten to know. I mean, that's kind of what it is most times in most jobs and most roles.
Yeah, I think there's a certain expectation when looking from the outside in, especially fan base, like you look at it and you go, as far as the process overall, it's like, oh, I don't want, you start worrying. Like if the net's not cast, if it's not wide enough, then, oh, okay, well, it's all favoritism, or they're all just buddies doing each other favors. There's sort of a stigma that can kind of enter the picture when you're seeing it from the outside in. But I know where you're coming from with it. And I agree. I mean, like at the end of the day, like you said, all of it comes down to Zach.
And you don't think Zach liked the coaches he fired? Like if it was just about hiring his buddies, he knows he's got to win. Got to win games, baby. That's it. That's the name of the game. He knows it. We're not breaking any news there. Speaking of winners, a familiar face is headed to Super Bowl 59. That's next. Welcome back to Enter the Jungle. I'm James Erpine. He's Andrew Fox Miller. Samaje Perine, boy, oh boy, just clutching AFC Championship games at Arrowhead. The dagger against the Bills. What goes through your mind when you see Samaje Perine do a little shake and bake and get to that first down marker and clinch it for the Chiefs.
I mean, look, I'm not sore about it. I'm not looking at it from that angle. Like, oh, like, why didn't you do that for us? And it was none of that. It was, first of all, good for Samaje Perine, because the reality is, I mean, the dude was cut in August of last year. He finds himself on the Chiefs. He's on a team that very good shot of winning it all. Good for Samaje Perine. I'll at least say that. I don't even care about the rest of it. I'm bored, James. I'm bored with it all. I don't even care.
Yep. Felt inevitable. Didn't think there was a chance that the Bills were getting the ball back. Felt inevitable. And that's why if you're playing the Chiefs, you're going to have to outplay them. Period. You're going to have to make every play down to the wire. You can't have the fumble in the fourth quarter like Joe Burrow did. You can't have the penalty like Dejon Anthony did. You can't have a 4th and 5 Josh Allen where he gets completely caught off guard by a blitzer and throws it up. Yeah, Dalton Kincaid should have made the catch, but you have to outplay them. And that's what the Eagles are going to have to do. We'll see if it happens. Look, refs, officials, all that stuff, throw it aside. The Chiefs are 60 minutes away from doing something historic, and Samaje Perine's a part of it. But yeah, I knew I saw that. I'm like, yikes. I will say this last thing. Yeah. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to do that for the Bengals next year.
Here we go.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire will do that for the Bengals next year. It's written. I told you, clinch a playoff win with Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Get in stripes. Clyde, get your butt to Cincinnati. He's Andrew Fox Miller. I'm James Rapien. What a way to end it here.
Right.
And Enter the Jungle. If you missed our one-on-one interview, my one-on-one interview with Al Golden, the Bengals defensive coordinator, make sure you check that out. Check out our channel, YouTube, Cincinnati Bengals Talk. And until next time, for Andrew, I'm James. Thank you so much.